Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sync podcast. Today I want to speak to you about cyclical living. What is it? How can you do it? And why should you even consider it? But if you're someone who wants to get things done and wants more of life, but you're also someone who's very much aware that you cannot keep pushing the gas pedal without burning yourself out, you should stay till the end because this concept of cyclical living is really what you need to hear about. Before we start, I want to remind you about our giveaway that we still have going on here on the channel. 2 lucky winners who subscribe and leave a written review of the show on the platform where you're watching this or you're listening to this will win a spot in my next program. You can find all the details on how to get into the contest in the footnotes of this episode. Now, first, I want you to reflect on something. I want you to reflect on your daily habits. I know you're someone who is very interested in wellness and in your own well-being. That's why you're here. That's why you're listening to this podcast. But are your habits really supporting your long-term health and your long-term well-being? Are you doing enough? Or maybe are you doing too much? And what if the best thing that you could do is actually to take a step back and just do nothing? Now, I know it might sound tough, especially in this world where really you are always being reminded that you need to do something, right? Your attention and your action are always in the spotlight. But that's where cyclical living comes in. So cyclical living is about giving yourself permission to push hard when you need to and then really pull back and rest. Remember that for every push, there has to be a pull in order to keep that balance. So cyclical living teaches you how to balance things in your life to support your long-term health. So let's first talk about the 2 biological rhythms you have as a woman. So the first one is the circadian rhythm. So this is the 24-hour cycle, which is your wake-sleep cycle. So your body goes through the same physical, mental, and behavioral changes that repeat every 24 hours. You can think of your digestion, your sleep, metabolism. These are functions in your body that sort of go on an automatic pattern that repeats itself every 24 hours. Then you have another rhythm that lasts about 28 days. So that's what we call the menstrual cycle. Now, similar to the previous rhythm, your body goes through some changes that repeat every 28 days. Now, rhythms are all about energy. And for energy to flow smoothly, it needs to follow its natural pattern, because when it doesn't, our bodies start to stress out. So let's take a really simple example, because I want you to understand what can happen in your body when you don't follow this natural rhythm. So let's take an example of how it feels when you disrupt the circadian rhythm. Jet lags. Like, have you ever experienced any of those? Like, I have recently just came from a round trip from Europe to West Coast in the US, and I could not sleep, I could not eat, I had headaches, my brain was not sharp at all, my brain was not functioning properly for like 3 days after landing. And this is the simplest and the most obvious example of what can happen to your body when you disturb one biological clock. So that is your circadian rhythm. And the most basic body functions get disrupted. And these are the very obvious ones, and those that create very visible signs of disruptions. And who knows what else is disrupted inside of us, and we don't really see the immediate signs. Remember, the symptom that you experience is not the real problem, right? It's just a signal that something in your routine, something is not working for you. It's the message that your body is using when it's trying to communicate to you. Okay, so what is cyclical living? Cyclical living is all about adapting your lifestyle to the natural rhythms instead of trying to fight them, trying to go around them, or trying to just push through them. So I want to give you a few examples of of these natural rhythms and how you can incorporate them into your life. So let's start small. Let's start with the smallest unit of measurement, your day. So on a daily basis, you could start to schedule activities that require a lot of your energy in the first part of your day. I personally prefer to do that between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. So think about all these activities like exercise, your highly creative work, your deep focused work, difficult conversations, anything that requires your mental capacity. And you do this because you want to follow the natural pattern of cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So this hormone is naturally higher in the morning and it gradually decreases during the day because it's trying now to make room for the other hormone, melatonin, that helps you fall asleep at night. Now let's have a look at your month. You cannot expect every single day to look the same because over the course of a month, your hormones, the hormones in the menstrual cycle will fluctuate. And you know by now that hormones impact your physiological needs, your motivation, your energy, your emotions, your behaviors, almost everything in your body. So you're going to be different almost every day. And more than that, we are all very different from each other. So what the first part of the cycle looks for you might look very different from what it looks for your girlfriend, your daughter, your sister, any woman in your life. But there is one main true principle that is universal to this rhythm of the menstrual cycle. So that has to do with the energy, because energy is naturally rising and is directed more outwards in the first part of the cycle, and it goes down and more inwards towards the end. This means that you will naturally feel more extroverted around the middle of your cycle, and that's around ovulation time, as your body really wants to increase the chances of you getting pregnant. So it wants you out there, it wants you to be very communicative, it wants you to meet people, and just it's going to stimulate that desire to be outdoors. Now, you have to look at this pattern in energy as the first layer, which is kind of universal. And on top of this layer, you have to add your unique personality, your life story, your environment, your habits, your routines, everything that is just specific to you, specific and unique to you. And you have to observe for yourself where in your cycle you feel more energetic, where you feel that your communication skills are more enhanced. Maybe it's your ability to memorize things that just becomes significantly better at different parts in the cycle. Or maybe you're just faster at writing, or your creativity skyrockets in certain parts of the cycle. You are very different than any other woman out there. So you have to get to experience and you have to observe this for yourself. And I explained the main phases of the menstrual cycle in episode 3. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, go do it, because it will give you a better understanding of how these patterns work. So what I love doing at the beginning of each new cycle, at the beginning of new month, so the moment I get my period, I go to my calendar and I mark in my calendar the phases of my cycle. This way I can know upfront where I'm feeling more outgoing, more social, when my communication skills are going to be really good, and when are those days where I might just be overthinking things, or I might just need extra pampering, or maybe I'm going to need more time alone. Again, remember it. Every push needs a pull in order to keep that balance. Now, if you zoom out even more, so we had a day, we had a month. If you zoom out more and you see the full calendaristic year, you're going to see that the outer seasons also influence your energy levels. Don't expect every month to look the same. You'll have to adjust your schedule and plan in such a way that you're more in tune with the outer seasons as well. Because maybe during winter, you want to be more indoors, so you can get more focused work done, or you can work more on your strategy, more planning. While when the sun is out and it's really hot outside, you might find it more difficult to stay focused for longer periods of time. So the idea is that you have to spread out all your activities in 1 year and all your objectives in such a way that you don't push yourself against nature. You actually work with it, you flow with it. So living more cyclically really means encouraging more flexibility in your lifestyle and in how you approach your life. And over the years, I've noticed that, the happiest people that I know are the ones that are really flexible, are the ones that are flexible both in their personalities and in how they look in life in general. They are these people that really can accept change a lot easier in compared to others. And I know what you might be thinking now, that when you have these moments when you're after a really big goal where you are really ambitious about achieving something, when you rest or when you just turn down the intensity of your work, you might slow down or you might be even killing your progress. Cyclical living is not going to slow you down. It's not going to put your productivity at risk. It's not going to slow down your ambitions and your progress, your business, or any of your plans. It's going to do quite the opposite. And I'll give you a very simple example. So let's say that you have to write a paper for school, for work, it doesn't really matter. But you have to write a paper and the deadline is going to be in a month from now. That's what you received. So the first 10 days, if you're unaware of your own patterns and your natural rhythms, let's say the first days, you keep thinking about the paper, which kind of gives you this low-key anxiety, which is probably also affecting all the other tasks, which are not related to the paper itself. But you don't do anything about a paper, you just keep thinking about it. Now, for the following 10 days, you're trying really hard to find your inspiration, your words. You kind of get frustrated in the process because you're trying really hard to get it done. You finish it somehow after the 10 days, but you have a mediocre result, which is not 100% what you were looking to get. You're not really satisfied with it. So then for the next few days, until you have that moment for submission, you keep polishing it, you keep changing the words, the order of the paragraphs, and now this paper is constantly on your mind. So now you end up spending 20 days on it. And even after you have submitted a paper, you still think about a paper because you were not 100% satisfied with the job. So you stress about it, you kind of have this anxiety always going on. Now, when you're aware of your natural rhythm and when you know exactly those moments in your cycle where certain skills are more enhanced, maybe it's your writing skills, maybe it's your creativity, maybe it's just your ability to focus. When you know exactly when that time in your cycle is, instead of giving energy to the paper every single day for like a full month, you can just easily lock, let's say, 2 to 3 days, like full days, when you know that you're going to be naturally more creative and you're going to get the job done fast. And it's just ultimately going to be more efficient and, of course, with a lot less anxiety. And when you compare the two different scenarios, you see that you were actually more productive when you were following your natural rhythms because you chose to give energy to that paper when your body was more prepared to support you with that activity. The thing is, we tend to think of, we tend to associate being productive with being busy all the time. But productivity really means getting things done efficiently and, if possible, in a shorter time. And this is one of the benefits of living cyclically. It teaches you when your superpowers, yes, you can call them like superpowers, when your superpowers are coming to life and when you become faster to completing certain tasks, which also gives you that space to rest and recover. And I want this for you. Every woman deserves to know this and get to experience it. And the first logical step for you here is to get to know your own menstrual rhythms, your own menstrual cycle. So the next step would be to start tracking. If you're not doing it yet, start tracking your cycle, not just your period, but every single day. And I have the perfect tracker for you. And if you're not using it yet, you can download it from the footnotes of this episode. You've got in there all the instructions you need and a tutorial video. I'm trying to make things as simple as possible for you. So, do we have a deal that till the next time we meet, you're going to have at least 1 full week of tracking your cycle. Now, that's all for today. I hope you learned something new, and if you did, please share this episode with another woman in your life. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me reach more women who can learn from these conversations. Till next time.